And now the first of a series of programmes highlighting times when things didn't go quite as planned. It's presented by Jonathan Hewat. Can I take that again? Can I take that again, please?
Well, you don't always get the chance. When you're live on air, whatever happens, you've just got to plough on.
A flash from Washington. The House of Representatives Judiciary Committee, which is considering the impeachment of President Nixon, has voted unanimously to call Mr. Nixon as a witness. Of course, whether Mr. Nixon, I'm sorry about this, whether Mr. Nixon will agree is quite another matter. The time is 10 to 6.
Once again, 2SM is proud to present another story in the series Family Theatre.
The final story in many news bulletins is often a light-hearted one, to relieve the gloom of the daily dose of despondency. The more curious the story, the greater the risk of the newsreader getting the giggles, like laughing in church. Across the Atlantic, our American cousins are past masters at coming up with some pretty lunatic ideas.
In the wonder world of science, the Hayden Planetarium has heard from a Minnesota man who claims that the shape of Aurora Borealis, the northern lights, can be changed by flapping a bedsheet at them from the ground. The planetarium doubts it, but the man says he did successfully flap sheets in his backyard one midnight, though his wife kept hollering at him to cut out the foolishness and get back in the house. Now here are today's closing Dow Jones stock averages. Industrials off 14 cents, rails up 3 cents, utilities up 7 cents. And that's today's headline edition.
And that's what this series is all about. Live radio around the world, and those moments when, half listening, you pause and say, "Eh?" And talking of moments, have you ever noticed how, when you see someone looking at their watch and ask them the time, they always look back at their watch before answering? It's a double check to make sure the information's correct before giving it to you. Accurate time checks on the radio are vital, especially in the early morning when the world's getting up, opening an eye, cleaning its teeth, making the breakfast, and rushing off to work or to take the youngsters to school. We, the listeners, rely on frequent and exact reminders as the minutes, even seconds, tick inexorably by.
This is Morning West on Good Friday. The time now is 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock.
Well, what's an hour between friends?
For something extraordinary reason I cannot account for. I said it was 28 minutes past 8 about 2 minutes ago. It's actually 22 minutes past 7. Please forgive me.
It's not as easy as it sounds to finish one news story, glance up at the clock on the studio wall, give an accurate time check, and move smoothly on to the next story.
The former Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Robert Marp, has said that violent police methods won't work in Britain. It's 26... 27, 28, 29 and a half minutes to 9. Now the sports news.
If the presenter's mind goes blank when he looks at the clock, a colleague in the studio may leap to his aid.
Ollie Brown, and precious to me, it's 20... No, it's not. It's... 23, is it?
The time is 23 minutes to 1.
Thank you. 23 minutes to 1 o'clock. I can't do this sort of... it's very strange. Somebody has pointed out to me that all my time checks have been absolutely up the spout today. It is 30 seconds out.
Why don't you just say it's 36 minutes past 12?
I don't know. I think I need glasses.
Actually, by my calculations, 23 minutes to 1 is in fact 37 minutes past 12, not 36. Ah, well, if you're famous for not being able to tell the time, there's no end to the ideas the frantic producer may resort to.
But from the Today studio at just about 15 minutes. I can't read your writing. I've got a chap writing it out for me here, the silly fool. I can't read his writing. Well, it's 16 minutes to and a half. No, it's not 15 and a half minutes to midnight. I'm sorry about that. I try to be accurate. And a very good night from me.
When I'm listening to my radio, I tend to forget that behind the voice there's a team of secretaries, technicians, engineers and producers, all doing their silent bit behind the glass panel. They're the people who play in those pre-recorded tapes of interviews.
Our reporter Paul Tilsley has been following the story throughout the day, and he talked to some of the eyewitnesses of the raid, which was aimed at the local electricity board showroom. First, he spoke to Suzanne Shemming.
Well, I heard the shattering glass. That was the first noise I heard, and I turned around and looked out the window.
Well, our apologies, that was in fact Don McLean, who's a car salesman. But Paul Tilsley did speak to another eyewitness, Suzanne Shemming.
Well, I left home at 10:30 this morning. I was driving along Woodford Avenue.
Third time lucky? I don't think we should risk it. I should point out at this stage that all these examples are taken from recordings of programs that actually went out on air from various radio stations around the world. They're not fixed or recreated, and indeed it's that makes them so, well, special.
Well, now perhaps I can discard this dunce's cap and say hello to Mr. F.S. Cork of Addington Road, Buckingham, who has, in the past, played piano accordion and organ in and around the area. I was hoping to play a special tune for you this morning, Mr. Cork, but I've been unable to find a copy.
And that's his special problem. Another type of problem crops up with the telephone on air, crossed lines and the like. You'd think the technical wizards could cope with that. After all, this is the space age.
Okay, and Charlie, if you see any more of those subtle marks, how about calling them and just call them a subtle mark? We'd like to record that information.
Okay. Hello. 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 Oye. Vaya, me oye. Sí. Until I can remember. Estamos dando 600. ¿Pero el canal 10?
This is Apollo Control. The mysterious comments and singing, frequent repetition of hello, hello on the public affairs broadcast line a few moments ago has been identified by the network controller as a telephone company technician in Spain who inadvertently somehow got patched over onto the network line coming from the tracking station on the air-ground circuit. He has been isolated, electronically that is, and hopefully we shouldn't have any more of that sort of thing. Continuing with the AlphaMed experiment at 4931.
Down to earth, and with the sheer number of phone calls you hear on phone-in programs, it's really quite surprising that things go so smoothly so often. But every now and then, Busby lays an egg.
Let's talk to another listener. Good afternoon. Hello? Do we have a listener on this line?
Yes, we do.
Good. If you'd like to tell me your first name, we can go.
Well, I'm trying to get off, actually.
How do you mean?
Well, this is a public call box and I'm trying to get a line.
I misunderstand you. Did you want to talk to us on the program?
No, I don't.
Okay, please yourself.
Let's move on to a call. I think this one comes from Radstock, and it's Tony we're going to be speaking to now. Tony, would you like to go ahead?
Hello?
Yes, what's your call? What's your question?
What's my question?
Yes, have you got a question for us?
No, I don't know. He just got in and the phone rang and he just picked it up.
Well, I'm very pleased to speak to you this evening. Is your name Tony? He's gone anyway.
You know, one of the joys of phone-in programs is the unrehearsed and truly spontaneous incident that no scriptwriter could ever dream up.
Good morning, Mrs. Boycott.
Good morning.
Where are you phoning us from?
I'm phoning you from Clifton.
And what's your question?
Well, I have a small pond in the garden, and I have a toad in this pond, and it has already laid some eggs elsewhere, and I found her all blown up. I put her into the pond for safety, and she floated on her back, and now a male is mating with her, but the wrong way up.
Mrs. Boycott.
Peculiar. But she's obviously still alive because I can see her breathing. But they've been like this for about 2 or 3 days now.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Boycott, I've got the giggles. Major Diamond, can you answer the question, please?
I can hardly answer that one myself, Jenny.
Now, as I said earlier, all these excerpts are from live broadcasts, but let's pause briefly and descend to the cavernous depths of the recording studios, where bits and pieces are pre-recorded for forthcoming programs. To get the right feel, it's often best if you can pretend the recording's live, so you can get the old adrenaline going, and therefore get the best performance from the artist.
When I was much younger, my brothers and me used to play games round a big Concord tree. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, dear. I don't think I'm treating this with the seriousness it deserves, actually, too. Oh, dear. Conker's take 2.
Okay, I'll try it now. I think I'll be okay.
Well, back upstairs to the live studios where the presenter's aware that there's no possibility of retakes, so he makes sure his tongue's on its toes.
There's to be an increase in the bread subsidy to stop prices going up. There would otherwise have been a halfpenny rise on small loaves this week.
Last night, Herbert Chetipo, chairman of ZANU, which is the illegal Rhodesian freedom movement, claiming to run the guerrilla campaign inside Rhodesia, arrived in this country. This morning, I asked Mr. Chetipo, I'm having great difficulty with his name, is Gerald Hawkesworth alive?
Now, the closing headlines on London News Desk, the Home Secretary, Mr. Rees, has told the Commons that he'll be going ahead with his decision to deport two American journalists, Mark Hosenball and Philip Agee.
And now here's the latest on the Middle East crisis. Lesbian forces today attacked Israel. I beg your pardon, that should be Lebanese. Lebanese.
Of course, international news reporters must sometimes suffer from serious jet lag as they hop from pillar to post.
Angus McDermott, BBC, at the... Sorry, skip the payoff. Don't know where I am.
This is Cheryl Armitage at the, whatever it is, sports club.
Most people organising sports functions keep a wary ear on the weather forecaster's pronouncements. Gone are the days of seaweed prophecies and damp fingers held up to the wind. Tune in for a weather forecast these days and you get a highly accurate scientific prediction.
Your weather, cloudy with scattered showers.
And now the feather forecast until midnight tonight.
Tonight will start fine.
And the weather, very warm this afternoon with temperatures well up into the 70s Fahrenheit. The outlook for tomorrow continuing very warm with a chance of scattered thunderstorms.
And although this series is about clangers on the radio, I must mention a recent incident on TV when the forecaster was using those magnetic bits and pieces they stick on their maps. In the middle of a forecast, he noticed that the first letter of the word fog had slipped. Turning straight to camera, he said, "Sorry about the F in fog." Well, that's it for now. I'll be back with some more gems of the airwaves at the same time next week.
And from the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Don't fail to miss it, will you?
Can I Take That Again was devised and presented by Jonathan Hewat, who thanks all the inadvertent contributors. It was produced by Jonathan James Moore. Was that all right?